Hi, people. COVID-19, genetically engineered to target humans. Li-MENG and her team of researchers published a 26-page document laying out how COVID-19 could have been developed artificially in a Chinese lab. Well, we know, firstly, that that's what all governments do. They all play around with this shit because it's a dick-swinging competition between them. They don't care about you. Let me be, say that right off the mark. They don't give a shit about you. What you are is a guinea pig, okay? You are a guinea pig. So let's just not look directly at Chinese labs because all of the big countries do this, okay? They've been doing it for a very, very fucking long time, and they will continue doing so, right? But anyway, let's go down to the story. Li-MENG, the Chinese virologist who has been in hiding in the US after claiming that the Chinese authorities not only knew about the novel coronavirus long before the first cases were officially reported in Wuhan last December, but who had also suggested COVID-19 was created in a Chinese military laboratory, has published with her team of researchers a 26-page document laying out her theory that the pandemic sweeping the world is not of natural origin. Now, I believe that, okay? I believe that. And when all of this started, from day one, I turned around and I said, we don't know where it started. Stop pointing the finger. It's easy to point the finger because you don't look at the bigger picture. They all play around with this shit, okay? They all play around with this shit. Yan and her team published their findings on Zenodo in a report entitled Unusual Features of the SARS-CoV-2 Genome, suggesting sophisticated laboratory modification rather than natural evolution and delineation of its probable synthetic route. The text is co-authored by Chinese scientists Xu Kang, Ji Guan, Sheng Chang Hu, and published under the observation of the Rule of Law Society and Rule of Law Foundation in New York, organization founded by Chinese magnate whoever, who has been in exile in the US for several years after being accused of crimes including corruption and sexual abuse in China. The Society's stated mission is to expose corruption, obstruction, illegality, brutality, false imprisonment, excessive sentencing, harassment, inhumanity pervasive in the political, legal, business and financial systems in China. Well, fuck, doesn't that go on everywhere? Doesn't that go on in every country? Okay? So, like I said, keep looking at the bigger picture. Don't be quick to point. All right? Both China and the World Health Organization have debunked Dr. Yan's theories that the novel coronavirus did not originate in nature. The WHO said it has no record of a contractor named Li Poon who Yan claims to have alerted to the rapid spread of the virus before it was publicly acknowledged, while the Chinese authorities have consistently stated COVID-19 made the jump from an animal host, most likely a bat, in a wet market in Wuhan. Separately, a report in Live Science at the outset of the pandemic in March said the synthetic development theory could be put to bed, citing a research paper published in Nature Medicine that stated the novel coronavirus had mutated in such a way that it would be impossible to engineer it in a lab. COVID-19 adapted from already identified bat coronavirus. I'm not going to read the whole thing, people. It goes on. I will leave links, okay, so that you can go down and you can pretty much read the whole lot, okay. I will also leave a link to where you can find the actual report, which is down here. So you can read it all there, right? That's the 26-page report that they actually put in. But again, before you jump to conclusions, all right? Before you make a decision, okay, before you point a finger, I always say to you people, look at the bigger picture. Look at the bigger picture. I'm not saying that this scientist is wrong. I believe it was genetically made. I believe it was made in a lab, okay? Whether they took something and transformed it, mutated it, whatever, I believe that. I've said that from fucking day one, okay? I've said it from day one. Again, look at the bigger picture. Why? Okay, why? Now I'm going to take on a different journey. Why? Why this? Listen.
Mr. President, U.S. intelligence is saying this week that the coronavirus likely came from a level 4 lab in Wuhan. There's also another report that the NIH, under the Obama administration in 2015, gave that lab $3.7 million in a grant. Why would the U.S. give a grant like that to China?
The Obama administration gave them a grant of $3.7 million. I've been hearing about that. And we've instructed that if any grants are going to that area, we're looking at it literally about an hour ago.
See, to me right there, it sounds like he just found something out that he didn't know, okay? And if he does know, there's no way that he's going to let on, as in that he, you know, is a part of it. Listen, just listen to the way that he's speaking.
And also early in the morning, we will end that grant very quickly, but it was granted quite a while ago. They were granted a substantial amount of money.
So at that point, the grant was still going, because he just said, we will end that very quickly.
We're going to look at it and take a look, but I understand it was a number of years ago. Right?
So
when did you hear the grant was made?
Do you see that? He's asking her, when did you say the grant was made? When did you say the grant was made? Now, I'm not sticking up for this man, okay? I hate politicians, period. If you guys want to go over and fight over these people, fight over them, okay? Fight over them. But to me, his question to her now, you'd kind of think that if he didn't know, the obvious thing would be, is to go, well, okay, you know, we're looking into it. And then you go off stage, off camera, and you go, when the fuck was this grant made? Yada yada. But he's asking her. He's asking her. Okay? So money, at that point in time, okay, you can see the date there, 17th April 2020, they were still funding it.
2015.
2015. Who was president then? I wonder. Okay.
Mr. President, U.S. intelligence is saying this week that the coronavirus likely came from a level 4 lab in Wuhan.
Watch now his mannerisms. I'm playing it again. Watch his mannerisms. Watch how it's like it's piqued his interest. Okay? Almost as if it's piqued his interest. And if that's not the case, then hey, he's an actor. What can I say?
There's also another report that the NIH, under the Obama administration in 2015, gave that lab $3.7 million in a grant. Why would the U.S. give a grant like that to China?
The Obama administration gave them a grant of $3.7 million. I've been hearing about that. And we've instructed that if any grants are going to that area, we're looking at it literally about an hour ago. And also early in the morning, we will end that grant very quickly. But it was granted quite a while ago. They were granted a substantial amount of money. We're going to look at it and take a look, but I understand it was a number of years ago. Right?
So
when did you hear the grant was made?
20.
Do you see what I mean? And then there's more. Secret Fort in US must come clean on its work, right? Fort Detrick Biological Base is situated in the US state of Maryland. It was little known to the residents of the state, let alone the general public. At least that was the case before many Americans started suffering from an unknown respiratory infectious disease before the outbreak of COVID-19. For those of you that have been following me, what did I say to you about a very good friend of mine in Oroville, California? That she died, they found something in her lungs, okay? They couldn't identify it. They couldn't identify it. And she literally dropped. She was coughing her guts up, okay? If you want to know more about that particular story, I'll do it on a live stream or whatever. Just ask me and I'll tell you what happened to her. But one day she was there, the next day she was gone, okay? And that was before COVID, right? That was well before COVID. Respiratory infectious disease before the outbreak of COVID-19. Since the outbreak, Fort Detrick has been mentioned more and more frequently. The reason why the base has come under such spotlight was the unexplained outbreak of a deadly respiratory disease near it several months prior to the epidemic in China. This was covered by the US media. More importantly, last July, Fort Detrick was mysteriously closed, and the US government has so far been unwilling to explain the sudden closure. Questions have been asked in the United States and calls for clarifications on a possible link between the closure of Fort Detrick and an outbreak of large-scale influenza and COVID-19 are getting louder. Petition for information of Fort Detrick, a screenshot of the White House petition website. On March 10, a netizen named BZ launched a petition on the White House petition website. Petitioner listed the timeline related to the COVID-19 outbreak and the Fort Detrick, hoping that the US government would give a reasonable explanation. Top secret US Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases at Fort Detrick was closed. Large-scale outbreak, it's giving you the dates here. Influenza killed more than 10,000 people. United States organized Event 201, global pandemic exercise with the participation of the Deputy Director of CIA. An outbreak of pneumonia of undetermined origin was found in China. The epidemic became global. Large number of English language news reports about the closure of Fort Detrick were deleted from online access. Why would you do that? What makes things even more puzzling is the Event 201 global pandemic exercise mentioned in the timeline above. This exercise, organised in October 2019, has attracted continued international attention for the similarities between its scenario and the development of today's pandemic. According to the official website of the Event 201, the exercise was to simulate an outbreak of a novel zoonotic transmitted from bats to pigs to people that eventually becomes efficiently transmissible from person to person, leading to a severe pandemic. The pathogen and the disease it causes are modeled largely on SARS, but it is more transmissible. There's more obviously to read on that. But I will leave you the links to all of that, all right? I will leave you the links to all of that. Again, people, I'm asking you, look at the bigger picture. We are nothing, have always been, will always be, until we do something about it. We have always been the guinea pig. The US can point their finger at the Chinese can point their finger at the US, etc., etc. They're all in on it. They're all in on it. It matters not, but they're all in on it. I just showed you Trump, right? Why? Why would they give that much money to the Wuhan laboratory? There is a video out there that I watched where somebody went more into detail about this Maryland base. And they came up with the fact that they were actually studying that particular virus, but then they passed it on to Wuhan, which would make sense as to why the US would then help fund it. That's just me. You make up your own mind.